Right. I mean, that's just a tiny fraction of what you were doing back in February and March. You mentioned the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. Up to 85% of restaurants could permanently close by the end of the year. I guess the question is, was PPP effective for restaurants?
You know, it was effective for the time that it lasted, which was 4 months. I don't think it did enough for everybody. And also because the forgiveness is based on how many employees you rehire, which is really hard in a restaurant that's mandated to either not have any indoor dining or at 25% indoor dining. It just doesn't work with those numbers. But, it was a lifeline, but it was a small lifeline. It was a short-sighted lifeline. It was a Band-Aid. This problem has lasted so much longer than the PPP allowed for us to use it. And what we need is basically a grant. We have the Restaurant Act, which has passed in the House, which will allow us to hire back as many employees as we can and to pay off our rent and to pay our cost of goods. But without that, we are not going to survive. And, the PPP was okay for a while, but it's not okay in the long run.
Well, you're part of the Independent Restaurant Coalition, and this summer you testified before the House Small Business Committee. What did you tell the committee then? And perhaps more pertinent today is, what would you tell them now as they continue to try to hash out some sort of much smaller stimulus than Democrats want?
Back then I said the PPP didn't work for us. It worked for a short while, and it allowed us to pay off some of our bills and to rehire some of our employees. But it's not enough because restaurants are so unique. We need a unique bill. We thrive and we grow and we succeed because we try to get as many people into as spaces as possible and serve them food. And the PPP, while it allows us to be open, COVID-19 doesn't allow us to run our business the way that we have to actually be successful. And what I would say to them now is, now we're 9 months into this and we're in a totally different situation. We don't have any resources left, and it's just like being back at the beginning in March. We don't even have the PPP right now. And on top of that, we don't even actually know what the forgiveness for the PPP is. It's still being decided. So you're asking us to take on more debt when we haven't gotten our first debt forgiven. And we need something that's actually going to be a grant that's going to allow us to open and to be open at the end of this pandemic. Because the jobs that have been lost, and we've already lost 2.1 million jobs, restaurant workers, they're gone. They're gone permanently. They're not going to reappear. And the longer that this goes on without helping restaurants, we're going to keep losing more and more, and we will not be there at the end. We will not be there to help the country reopen.
How does the industry come back from this? Does the industry come back from this, or is this a permanent shift in the way we know restaurants, not just in New York, but in the United States?
I don't think it's permanent forever. I think it's a pretty resilient industry, but it's permanent for the next couple of years. I think you're going to see a lot of closures of restaurants all over. I think we're going to lose massive amounts of the talent pool that we've been building for years that sort of, kept this country going, that's, kept bringing in tourists. I think you're going to see a certain kind of restaurant. I think mom and pop restaurants are going to disappear. There's not enough incentive to keep going. I think we're going to see cities that just aren't as vibrant as they used to be. Maybe 10 years down the road, we'll return to where we are. But next year, the following year, for the next 5 years, unless we put a stopper in the hemorrhaging that's happening right now of the industry, we're going to lose a huge part of our culture.
Amanda Cohen in New York. She's the owner of Dirt Candy. Amanda, thanks so much for your time and for joining us on Quick Take today. Best of luck.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quicktake now for insight in an instant.